Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Board Gaming Doctor. My name is Phil, and I'll be your board game doctor today. So, this video is going to go over my top 10 favorite games that start with the letter C. This is a project that I started a couple of months ago. One, to talk about games that I regularly wouldn't want to talk about or have the opportunity to talk about. And two, I'm in the process of re ranking all of my games according to new criteria that I came up with that is important to me when I rank and talk about my games. So the third reason too is that it took a while for this video to came out is that there were, as you can see, 76 games that I have played that start with the letter C. And so it took me a bit of time to go through the list, and I admit things are a little crazy here personally with life getting ready to move very soon. So I didn't have the biggest opportunity to do this quickly, but now that I've kind of gotten ahead of some of the other projects that I want to do and everything, I'm hopeful to get back into this re-ranking process to deliver a new top 10 list when this is done of for games of all time. So going through some of these uh, games real quick, you can see some outliers such as Cottage Garden from Rosenberg didn't really uh, do super well for me. I'll probably talk about that at some point. Clank is pretty low on my list, interestingly. Um, I'll go through these pretty quick. Just Clash of Magic Schools is down there as well. Cascadia, not too high for me. Cartographers, and then Castles of Burgundy. So I will stop at Cave versus Cave and Click a Tree, very close to making my top 10. I'll save my number 11 since it tied in score with my number 10, and we'll go from there. So my number 10 is going to be Click a Tree. You may have seen some changes, or you probably saw this on the list on my Excel sheet. First, I made some errors in including some expansions on my list, and so I had to take those out. So this is my number 10. Click a Tree is a game that I covered recently. It was just barely completed on GameFound and will be distributed later this year. But this game is available to play on Alpha on Board Game Arena, and it is a Rosenberg in which you are drafting tiles and building your own tableau of them. You're trying to fulfill spatial puzzles that are located, and the same puzzle is located for everyone on these sheets, and it's essentially a race to get these resources as high as you possibly can while fulfilling these puzzles to allow you to do so, and whoever reaches that threshold wins essentially. And so it's a unique game that utilizes it looks like it's an Applejack or a framework or a patchwork, a kind of tile laying Rosenberg kind of game. But if you get into the nitty gritty of this game, it does play a lot differently than those games do. And so, for that fact and its kind of uniqueness in its take on how this game plays, it really is a fun game, and I think it does stand alone. Plus, uh, the message that it's trying to send is really nice too for environmentalism in Africa. And so I believe this is the second game in the Ghana trilogy that Rosenberg is trying to accomplish. And even though it is lighter than Adiwa, this is definitely a game that you should check out if you do enjoy tile layers and the like. So that is my number 10, Click a Tree. So the next three games have the same score that I've given it on Board Game Geek, but I think this is how I would order them anyway. So my number 9 is Kalis. This is a 2005 game that was one of the first worker placement games in which you are building out a particular and different variable set of worker placement spots to take by purchasing and playing these buildings onto a shared location. One of the kicks to this game is that you have a provost tile or token that you're moving around this board, and this is the board that you play it on. And if the provost is on a certain piece, you can't use it essentially. And so there is a lot of Euro goodness in terms of variability and uh, different ways that this asymmetric or variable worker placement board continues to progress throughout the game, but you also have some interaction in the terms of this provost that you're moving around. And so, really cool game, one that am very interested in getting more into. There is a newer version, the Caylus 1303, that was redesigned, or at least visually redesigned, for you to see. But Caylus, the original one, is on Board Game Arena to try as well. So that is my number 9.
Caylus.
Number 8 is Caverna, Cave vs. Cave, in particular the big box edition. So this is probably my favorite 2-player version of Rosenberg's 2-player series of his big box games. I like the things that are brought over from Caverna, which include just the general aesthetic, the buildings, etc., that you're building out onto your tableau, but also the fact that you have a few new mechanisms in terms of like placing walls onto your board in order to fill it out for rooms. You have to excavate these rooms as well. And while you excavate these rooms, you reveal the buildings that you will purchase and try to purchase from your opponent first. And so it's a growing and variable market that's different from game to game, that introduces some replayability and variability there. With the big box version, of course, you have more buildings and different. It lengthens the game essentially to make it a longer and more strategic experience in the long run. So I see this one as having the most potential to be mastered over various plays over the other games. It's a close tie between this one and Agricola, All Creatures Great and Small, in my opinion. But I really enjoy this one. It's probably the one that I would go to first. And so that's my number 8, Caverna, Cave vs. Cave. Number 7 is Concordia. So this is a very classic game, highly regarded by most folks, by Matt Gertz, and it is highly regarded by myself as well. I think it nails a lot of what a medium weight Euro game is supposed to be like. I think it sets the bar essentially, since it's a older classic in which you have a hand of cards and a deck that you are sort of building along the way. The cards not only give you actions that you purchase from, but also different ways to score, and those motivations allow you to move across this map with your units, build out in certain regions of the map, and gain advantage with those resources. So it's a resource management, deck building kind of game that has a lot of content with a lot of expansions and the like, right? And so it's got a lot of potential for me. It's one game that I want to explore more, and do have the opportunity to do so with the app, but I haven't done so yet. And so I think this one has the highest potential for me to enjoy more and more, and to increase my ranking of in the, as I play this more. And so we'll see what happens. But for now, my number 7 is Concordia. Number 6 is surprising to me, and maybe to you as well, but that's Castle Combo. It's a really light game in which you build out a tableau of 9 cards that you draft from a row of like 6 cards, or 2 rows of 3. And these cards have various resources that they give you, as well as abilities to score. Think of games like Point Salad. And so this game, not only being available on Board Game Arena to really try and enjoy, plays really quickly. And I think I really enjoy this because it offers, uh, albeit a very randomized and perhaps lucky experience, but there is an element of strategery to this game that is light enough that I can teach this to non-gamers, or folks who do not usually wish to search out a game that offers like a lot of point scoring, etc. But I've played this with so many different people that I usually wouldn't play board games with, and had a great time with. And so I think this is one of those lighter weight games that scratches an itch that I pursue in board games. And so for that, I believe it rightly deserves to be higher up on my list at number 6. Number 5 is a game that needs no introduction. That's the Castles of Burgundy, a very classic Feld game in which you are rolling dice and playing, using those resources that you kind of gain from your dice to draft tiles to build out onto your tableau. there is a surprising amount of mitigation that can occur with the dice that you roll, and so it becomes a more strategic game than it might appear. But this game has a lot going for it in terms of lots of different maps that you can play on, and good players will play this game really well. There's an element of knowing what the best buildings are, maybe even the best maps to pursue those buildings from as well, and all in which incorporating the randomness of what your dice rolls are, as well as what tiles are available to purchase from round to round. And so it offers a lot of replayability. It's right in the middle of what you would term as a middleweight Euro game. And so very much like Concordia, I think it's very close to being at the same level as Concordia, but I've played this a little bit more to appreciate it a little bit more, I suppose, than Concordia. And so my number 5 is The Castles of Burgundy. Number 4 is another Feld game, and that's Civolution. It's a relatively newer game that I absolutely adore. In this game, while it is a lot heavier than Castles of Burgundy, you're essentially playing a civilization themed game, utilizing a few of the mechanisms that you see in the Castles of Burgundy, but also incorporating a lot of stuff that you find in a lot of recent Feld games. And in both in terms of those mechanisms as well as the setting, this offers a really cool puzzle to solve every time at a higher complexity rate, which I really enjoy, and actually will have a video with a full solo playthrough very soon. That's on the table right now, and I'm recording that as we speak. And so I really, really do love this game, and also see the potential for this game to rise higher in my overall list. So that's Civilization. Number 3 is Caverna the Cave Farmers. So the base game. Even though I prefer Agricola over this game, I hold this in pretty high regard. And so utilizing a lot of the same mechanisms as uh, Agricola does, right? You incorporate a lot more flexibility in terms of scoring. You're not really heavily penalized for doing so, but you also introduce a fixed amount of buildings that you try to pursue, and so it creates more of a chess-like experience compared to Agricola. And so I think what carries Caverna for me is, one, the mechanisms being very similar to my favorite game of all time, but two, the fact that this has some expansions that really make this game feel different and that is including the Forgotten Folks as well as Frantic Fiends. Both expansions I enjoy, and I think bring character to this game that differentiates it between Agricola. And so for those reasons, I still hold Caverna pretty high regard at my number. My number 2 is Clans of Caledonia. This game is a kind of similar approach in the style of game as Terra Mystica, Gaia Project, etc., where in the Scottish Highlands you are building out a merchant type of I guess, fleet or experience here, uh, manipulating a market that kind of feels like Brass, and like Brass, Lancashire, and Birmingham. And so it kind of mixes a lot of those elements of like Terra Mystica as well as the economy of Brass. And so for those reasons, I mechanically really enjoy this game. I like the look of it. I like the way that this game is variable in terms of the asymmetry. It's not as heavy on the asymmetry as it is with with like the market and the contracts that you're trying to fulfill as well. There is a new expansion for this game that just came out. I think it was funded maybe about half a year ago or so, and that is something that I'm really wanting to play very soon. And so, um, yeah, this is a game that I really do enjoy, and you can play this on Board Game Arena. I would love to continue to explore this game further. So my number 1 pick might be Blasphemous, because I've only played this once, and so I suppose Clans of Caledonia would truly be my number 1 on this list, but Casus Belli really made a great impression on me. So this is the Martin Wallace game that I recently reviewed. Go to that video if you want to explore that further, but the way that this game approaches a 4X in a Euro style sense is very it was so enjoyable for me, and I I could play this game four-handed and still enjoy how quick the turns are, as well as how easy it was to kind of get into this game, relatively easy to learn and get into this game, but then see the horizons of different ways you could really try to play this game well. And so, this one, out of all of the games that I've talked about, has the highest potential for me to enjoy in the long run. It'd be really close between this and Clans of Caledonia with the new expansion and everything. But so, even though I've only played this once, I mean, based off of the criteria that I use to rate games on now, Casus Belli reached my number one spot, and so I'm really looking forward to playing this game more. And yeah, we'll see where that goes. So, so I, at the beginning I said that I would want to. I feel like talk about games that I usually don't get to talk about. I feel like I've talked about all of these games before recently, and so sorry about that. Hopefully, the future lists will be more varied and different enough for the experience that I intend to portray with these lists. But that's the way it goes, and I just assign these the numbers that I feel like at the time, and this is how it laid out. And so yeah, so thank you for watching this list, and let me know if you agree or disagree on any of these games, and what would be your favorite game that starts with the letter C, if it's on this list or not. Thank you for all the support, and for the comments and the interactions that we've had so far. Very, very much appreciated, and it's part of the reason why I do this. And I hope you schedule an appointment with me real soon, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.